Piper is a public relations expert who is trying to promote her own book. When she learns of a controversy, she instantly decides to save face by agreeing to help a struggling father, Tim. When she starts improving his theme park, she realizes there's much more to life. Piper arrives for her interview and puts on a huge smile for the staff. She's on the phone with Andy, who is her sister and agent. Andy asks her to focus on important talking points like how Piper's Top Picks has launched 26 best-selling campaigns. She asks Piper to keep her smile as she announces her first Christmas cookbook as an author. It's about the recipes of her grandma Rose. Piper decides to focus on her angle of a small-town girl to make herself more sympathetic. She also knows she can only talk about her mom and Grammy when the topic of family comes up, and not her dad. She asks Andy to not sit in her chair, and knows she won't listen to her anyway. Tim Swan drops some decorations on Piper by mistake and apologizes. He feels nervous about going on set, and informs her he owns a failing Christmas village in town. Piper gives him some pointers and makes him wear a scarf so he seems more sympathetic. She also asks him to just smile if he feels like throwing up. The hosts, Nina and Maria, welcome the audience to their Christmas country cheer show. They're featuring local people from the small town of Winter Ridge who are spreading Christmas cheer in some way. The first guest is Tim, who is the owner of the North Pole Christmas Village theme park. Nina asks about how fun it is in his Christmas village, and if he has a funny elf story. Tim continues to smile and is unable to answer anything in front of the camera. Piper gets a call from Angie, who asks her to leave the interview and abort the mission. Before Piper can ask for details, a dog called Archie breaks her phone. She asks Martha from the adoption agency to give her a phone for emergencies. Martha never carries one, because Archie has already knocked out 3 from her hands that year. As Tim keeps nodding with every question, he reminds Maria of the bobbleheads. He doesn't have much to say about Santa, but claims his kids have the same bobbleheads. Piper hopes he's better at running his business than he is on TV. She bets Martha $50 about him fainting on TV. She asks Tim's children, Paige and Declan, to join in on the bet without knowing who they are. When she learns he's their father, she explains that she owns a public relations company to help people make books that other people want to buy. They ask if she can help her dad, but she doesn't know if she's that good. Paige wonders if Piper likes marshmallows, and if she's married. Piper joins Tim and the host as the second guest to promote her Christmas cookbook. Piper takes Tim's chair, and Nina announces how great it is that she came from Madison Avenue in New York to their town for this Christmas section. They ask about the personal significance in her cookbook, and Piper claims this is her favorite time of the year. She remembers her Grammy's sweet potato and marshmallow pie, and wanted to share her original recipes with the world through her book. Nina is surprised. She's claiming the recipes are original with all the allegations. She informs Piper that Brock Sheffard from Cubby's Old-Fashioned Cakes is claiming that she stole the recipes from his bakery and new cookbook. Piper maintains the huge smile on her face, and remembers she fired Brock a few years ago. She assures everyone that these recipes have been in her family for generations. Nina taunts her about using PR for herself, so Piper decides to announce something extra last minute. Piper claims she came to the show after getting an email from Tim's kids about needing her help. She claims the kids told her about Tim's theme park and asked her to create a Piper's Top Pick book about it. She discusses their financial issues and claims the kids are hoping for a Christmas miracle. The hosts agree that is very sweet, and Piper claims she'll help him with the book free of charge. She comes off as a very generous guest and manages to save face. Martha puts her in a spot by announcing on the show that Piper is adopting Archie. Piper plays along because she knows the audience would want her to embrace the Christmas cheer. After the segment, Piper informs Martha she can't keep Archie because she doesn't live in the area. Martha threatens to come back to the show to tell everyone she only pretended to adopt Archie. Piper hates her for this, but respects her game. Tim thanks Piper and asks how the whole deal with the book will work out. Piper is determined to figure something out, and he calls her to the park to check out the place. He can tell she's not a dog person, so he asks his children to take Archie for a walk and food while Piper settles in. Piper gets a new phone and pays a musician, busker, because she thinks he sounds great. When her phone starts working, Andy claims she tried to warn her about Brock. Piper asks her to get him on the line, and he happily accuses her of stealing the recipes. He's glad his lawyers are sabotaging her book as they speak. Piper is confident they are her Grammy's recipes and asks Andy to share the photos of the handwritten notes. Andy has just received Brock's cease and desist letter, which claims Piper stole them. They hang up on Brock, and Piper asks Andy to hold the book. She knows if people believe Brock, she will lose her credibility. She asks Andy to help the publishers understand she needs to save face. She has decided to stay in that town to work on the fluff piece with Tim. She knows if she does this, everyone will love her for her generosity and forget about Brock's disaster. She also asks Andy to contact their lawyer to go over Brock's cease and desist and see if there are any loopholes. Piper suspects Brock could also have a hidden connection to their family, because of which he somehow got the recipes. Andy also promises to find her a place to stay in town and send some clothes and supplies. Tim asks Piper why she lied about the mail from his kids, since it doesn't make sense. Piper admits there was no email. She made a quick decision because she knows Nina can use a sound bite to ruin her. She claims he can send her back, but she feels he will never get someone like her to help him in his wildest dreams. He agrees to work with her if she doesn't lie anymore, and she is more than happy to criticize his park. He brings her to an open theater, which is apparently a big hit with parents and kids. They still don't have an act prepared, and have a bunch of extra stuff lying around. Tim's storage is full, so Piper suggests donating the items to a charity. She checks out his website, which has goats instead of reindeer on the homepage. Tim starts rambling about how much he and the kids love goats, but he admits he couldn't get any reindeer to photograph. She feels at least he has snow and decent-looking trees for the background. She checks out the rest of the website, which is not much and all the pages are terrible. He brings her to a place where they keep the goats, but they are missing. He thinks Paige must have left the gate open. He introduces her to Hank, who looks after the goats. They opened around 4 hours ago, and there's still no one in the theme park. He claims he bought this place because he wanted to raise his kids somewhere magical. Christmas is the only time they're happy, because his wife passed away when they were very young. The kids make them hold hands, and Tim apologizes. His kids have been watching Christmas movies and think he needs a wife. He used to work as an architectural engineer, but the long hours kept him away from Paige and Declan. He needed a huge change, so he bought this place without thinking as a huge gesture. He knows it was a hasty decision, because he's struggling a lot with the finances and management of the place. He asks what Piper's favorite Christmas thing about Christmas is. Piper doesn't hide that she hates the festival, and all the commercialism and phony kindness attached to it. Tim loves Christmas, and hopes he can convince her to change her mind before she leaves this place. Piper wants to start fixing the theme park, and needs some photos of Tim and his kids in the snow. His friend, Luke, is a professional photographer who can take care of that. Piper also wants to interview Tim in the meantime to get material for their writer for the book. She wants some heartfelt content that people seem to love around Christmas. Grant, who is dressed as Santa, makes fun of Tim's interview. He jokes about at least some people coming to the park after it. Tim asks him to do his work, but he wants to eat first. Piper asks if he usually talks to his boss like that. Grant claims he also treats him like crap. Piper asks for Tim's permission to do whatever it takes to fix the place. When she has it, she fires Grant and asks him to live his suit. When he tries to threaten Piper, Archie defends her and scares him off. Tim points out how hard it will be to get a new Santa, but Piper is already dialing the number of an agency. She asks them for their best Santa on call, but realizes she's talking to Grant. Tim explains that Grant runs the Santa and Elves for Hire agency in this town. There's no way to replace him, and she feels like this is another huge hurdle. She feels bad for not thinking this through. But Tim admires her, and admits he had been trying to get the guts to fire Grant for a long time. Paige also knows Grant is not Santa, and is glad he fired him. Since Grant is walking away with the company's suit, Piper runs after him to get it back. Andy informs her that their lawyer has claimed that Brock has a right to the recipes. Their cease and desist is completely legal. They have also sued Piper since they don't have rights to the recipe. To be more dramatic, Brock has also claimed Piper maliciously fired him all those years ago to destroy his career. Piper's hate for the holidays increases, and she learns her mom also wants them over for Christmas. Piper doesn't understand how their mom likes Christmas after their dad walked out on them on Christmas Eve. Piper wonders if she's trying to overcompensate by putting on a huge show for them. As she discusses all this with Angie, Grant keeps stripping his Santa clothes. Piper claims she needs a Christmas miracle because Grant is the only Santa in town. Andy knows it's not a miracle, but her driver is about to arrive with her clothes. She has already paid the driver, and Piper is glad about how great Andy is at everything. When Jack the driver arrives with the clothes, Piper is in awe of how much he resembles Santa. Tim assures his kids that Santa will be back soon. Paige wonders if they can write a letter to Santa to somehow visit their village. Piper is excited about saving the day and introduces them to Jack as the brand new Santa. Piper claims she got lucky with Jack and makes him meet Tim, who will be his boss. Jack is eager to start working and begins by listening to Paige and Declan's wishes. Piper assures Tim that Andy has done a background check on Jack. Grant's elf watches the new Santa and decides to join them as his helper. Piper gets a warm welcome at her B&B from Millie, who is glad she has a dog. She has also made Piper's room all Christmassy, and Piper pretends she loves it. Piper asks what she should do for room service. Millie asks her to just thump her wall if she needs something. Millie is right beside her and promises to help with anything she needs. Piper tries to get comfortable in her bed and doesn't let Archie sleep on it. She arrives early at the theme park since she couldn't get any sleep at night. Piper feels it was worth it and shows Tim and the kids how many new people have come to their park and are playing with Santa. Paige and Declan want to play too, so Piper suggests they can find Archie with Hank. Piper is proud of how she manages to turn things around for other people. She has also created social media handles for Tim and attracted all these people by sending out a message. Tim makes her meet Luke, who has come to take the pictures for the book. He is glad for this kind of work because he is normally a forensic photographer. She asks them to take a tour and brings Tim to the packed theater. The community theater helped her get some set designers, who she feels have done great work. She has also offered them space for rehearsals during off hours. Tim is speechless and doesn't know how he can thank her. She has also managed to discard his extra stuff, which was taken by a daycare for their elite theater program. Busker, the musician Piper met outside a shop, opens his set with a song for the audience. The elf interrupts him and starts dancing to rap music with Busker. Tim asks how Piper managed to get a new website running so quickly. She claims she convinced a top web designer to do it for free and promised her a spa day. He realizes she designed it herself, and she's proud of how it's functional and not dated. She has even added pictures of Archie that Paige and Declan love. Luke clicks a photo of them with the kids and claims it's for the family. The goats are also back because Jack has experience with farm animals. They watch as a little girl asks Jack for a particle accelerator or a dress with flowers. Tim thinks all of this is magical, and he even feels Christmas seems to be growing on Piper. She gets awkward when she finds Millie trying on a face mask in the bathroom. It smells great, and Mill claims the avocado mask is her Grammy's recipe. This reminds Piper of her Grammy, and she agrees to put some mask on too. Piper and Tim come back for a review session at the Country Christmas Cheer Show. Piper asks Tim to just relax and breathe and maintain eye contact. As Tim awkwardly takes his seat again, Piper as usual seems excited about being there. As Tim nervously mumbles something, Piper compliments Nina's hairstyle to take the attention away from him. Nina asks for updates about their theme park. Piper starts talking about how tough it is to usually start a book, but she claims she's enjoying this town since it's beautiful and magical. She claims to be impressed with the village and thinks Tim has created a great place for his kids. Maria notices a vibe between them, but Piper assures her all this is professional. Nina has also heard about the real Santa hanging out at their village. Piper explains how people are magically flocking there to meet him. Piper informs them the first annual breakfast with Santa the theme park is hosting that weekend. She invites Nina and Maria over and claims a part of the proceeds will be donated. Tim wants everything to be donated to charity, but Piper subtly asks him to stay quiet and claims they're still working on the details. When Martha comes on set with another dog, Piper runs away as fast as she can. Jack reads out a story to the kids as Santa. Piper and Tim discuss how he's a lifesaver. Tim thinks of Jack coming there as a Christmas miracle. He also feels Piper showing up at the show when his business was failing is also a miracle. Piper reminds him she wanted to avoid bad press, but Tim still feels grateful. He gives her a Christmas ornament he made with the kids for her. He claims she can throw it, but reminds her not to do it in front of the kids. Piper is touched and assures him she loves it. They discuss glitter, and Tim tries to put some on her. Tim soon learns Piper doesn't like gingerbread houses and wonders why she hates Christmas. Kenny at the bakery seems very disoriented. Piper wants to hire him to make the Christmas cookies using her grandmother's recipes. Kenny knows he can use this business because a paper recently called him peculiar. Tim hopes she doesn't get into trouble with Brock for using the recipe. Piper assures him this is her grandmother's recipe and feels he should be ashamed of stealing it. Kenny gets angry and claims he hates people who steal family recipes. He had a great-great-uncle Bob who blew up bubbles with tree sap. Kenny claims someone sold the idea of bubble gum from him, and now they are bazillionaires. He claims she doesn't have to worry about the cookies. Tim asks her to not question Kenny's madness and assures her the cookies will taste great. Piper discusses how much fun she's having with Tim's family, and Andy feels she's enjoying the simple life. Piper is amused by how nice everyone is and how they hold the door out for people. Millie invites Piper for an annual polar bear dip in the middle of the night. She thinks cold water is perfect to get the heart running again. Piper thanks her for the invite, but claims she can't consider doing that. Andy asks her to check out the photos Luke sent, which all have Piper with Tim's family. Piper feels they need new photos without her, but Andy knows this makes it look like a good story. Piper shows Tim a video of Paige and Duncan playing with Archie, which has gone viral. She feels it's so cute that they will earn a lot of money. She feels Tim should charge for these photos with Santa because people would pay a lot. Tim doesn't want to because his dad was a photographer. He inspired Luke and used to take photographs with the mall Santa, who was Tim's uncle. They only did it for free, and Tim feels that is probably why his business is failing too. Piper admits that's a sweet story and makes a donation to the Santa's pictures to cover costs. She claims she still needs to show some tax deductions, but Tim thinks of this as another Christmas miracle. As he teases her, she tries to take her check back playfully. They get interrupted by Kenny, who insists on sitting on Santa's lap. Andy's lawyer, Danielle, has found out that the recipes are identical. Brock registered them years ago, and she claims it's legal. There's a hearing soon, and Brock wants Piper present so he can watch her fail. Jack is proud of the preparations for the breakfast and compliments Tim. Piper thinks Jack is missing Mrs. Klaus and brings Millie for them. Piper compliments Declan and Paige for looking like elves. Tim goes to play with them, and Jack informs Piper that the kids really like her. He thinks it's because she makes Tim happy. Jack can tell from experience that the smile on his face is because of the love he feels for her. Piper doesn't know if she can live up to that with her legal issues. She knows Tim doesn't care, but she feels bad for being reckless when it's her job to take care of legal clearances. Piper knows she failed this time because she didn't think there would be any problem with her grandmother's recipes. Jack asks her to relax and claims Santa can fix anything for her. Brock calls Piper to brag about the hearing the next day. Piper has no idea about it, so Brock gets excited about the look on her face. Andy feels bad she forgot to call Piper about the hearing. She has been working all night trying to figure out if they can move the date for her. Piper realizes she's doing her best, but she feels bad the hearing has to be on the day of her breakfast with Santa. Andy knows Brock must have seen her on the show and fixed the date deliberately. Piper feels bad because she was finally starting to enjoy the town. Andy is jealous of her because she loves the pictures. Andy offers to go to the hearing on her behalf, but Piper knows she has to be there to defend herself. Piper decides to not say anything to the people in town because she doesn't want to ruin their day. Piper is packing when Millie asks about what's happening. She explains that something came up at work and she has to head home. She asks Millie to give a letter to Tim and thanks her for the warmth she has shown her. Piper sits in the car with Archie and realizes Grant is her driver. He assures her he comes in peace. He is now happy as a driver and doesn't want to be known as Mean Santa anymore. He agrees to drive her to the airport free of charge to make up for his behavior. No one has seen Piper since the morning, and Millie comes to hand Tim the note. He informs everyone about Piper's hearing, but thinks they should continue preparing for the breakfast. He knows Piper has put a lot of effort into all this and wants it to be a big day. Tim asks Luke to take the kids to pick up the cookies from Kenny. Grant is surprised she is leaving town because he knows no one is usually able to. He himself left town once and came back in a week. He brags about their town having a record of the most one-way flights. He feels people end up staying in the town once they arrive. Luke picks up the cookies from Kenny and asks him to keep the recipe book as a gift from Piper. Kenny doesn't want the book. He knows all the recipes are from the old cookbooks that were in every mom's collection while growing up. Luke asks the kids to get back in the car as he makes a call. Tim agrees to check this information online and realizes he has to stop Piper from leaving town. He thinks it's important she's there for the breakfast. He asks Luke to look up Piper's office in New York and inform them about what they found. Tim is planning to go to the airport before Piper's flight. Grant assures Piper she will arrive at the airport on time. Andy gets a call from Luke, who informs her about what he found out. Tim calls the terminal to confirm whether the New York flight has left yet. He feels hopeful he can still arrive on time. Tim asks about the New York flight at the reception and learns that the morning flight has already left. He feels disappointed, but Archie finds him. Tim claims he came there to stop Piper from leaving. He wants her in his life, even if he can't give her the comforts of a big city. He promises to make her smile every day and confesses his love for her. Piper has already chosen him because she couldn't get on the plane. She kept thinking how she would rather be with him and his kids than in New York. She doesn't care what happens in the hearing and wants to have breakfast with Tim. He kisses her, and Grant asks if they can reach home without him. He heard them discussing breakfast, and Piper assures him extra maple syrup. Tim informs Piper about how Kenny found out that Grandma Rose's recipes are all available online for free. Tim has done some research too, which showed that the original copy is from the 1800s. It was made public a few years ago. Since they don't belong to anyone, Piper knows there's no lawsuit, and she won't have to embarrass his village. Piper and Tim join the others at the breakfast and overhear Luke in a romantic conversation with someone. Piper and Tim discuss how amazing the cookies are and ask how Kenny knew the recipes were in the public domain. Kenny claims he was trying to find out what other recipe he can use for the cookies. While searching, he realized he already had this one. Luke hands over the phone to Piper, who hears from Andy that they're off the hook because of this new development. Brock has also now warmed up to Piper, and her work at Tim's village has gotten a lot of attention. Andy claims Piper has a lot of offers and asks if she should put them on her desk for when she's back. Piper has decided to stay in town for a while and wants to enjoy Christmas. Andy claims she will join her in a few hours. Luke and Andy have been talking for hours, and she wants to visit town to be with him. They wish each other well on Christmas and join in a group hug. They get clicked and notice the cover of the book with their photo. Luke starts explaining about his best photo, but Andy stops him. Tim hopes Piper finally believes in miracles, but she decides to settle for thinking it's because of fate that they met.